this video, we will talk about rolling disasters. So we'll talk about what a rolling disaster is and what is the risk with rolling disasters, even in synchronous or near synchronous replication scenarios. So we have our primary data center and we have our secondary DR data center, disaster recovery data center. We have DataGuard max availability this time, replicating between site A and site B. But what happens if the disaster does not start within your primary data center? What if it's not a fire? What if it's a communication line cut? And what if it starts from a regional fire? What if the disaster starts from a storm that breaks the line of communication between the two data centers before it breaks the infrastructure of the primary data center? So let's look at that. This is the line of communication, fiber line of communication between the two sites. Now we have a storm that hit us in the area. And the storm broke the line and the backup line between the two sites. So you have data flowing before the line break between site A and site B. But when there's a line break, there is maybe a suspected hiccup on the line. So I can guarantee you that nobody stops production when the line between the two data centers is cut, because it may be just a hiccup and it'll come back and then all the data will flow again. So you accumulate more and more data first in your redo and then in large archive files. And you accumulate tens and hundreds of gigabytes of data because the line was cut. What if that storm now moves in the direction of your data center? What if now your data center was hurt? So you did not stop production, because nobody does, because you were hoping the line would come back, but the line did not come back. And this thing can happen within 5 seconds. It can happen within 1 second. How do you know it happened? And if you had monitoring tools here, you wouldn't even know, because the monitoring tool basically went off with the data center. So you don't know whether there was, actually in any disaster scenario, you don't even know if it is a rolling disaster or not. And you should treat every disaster because of that as a rolling disaster. Even if you're max availability, even if you're synchronous or semi-synchronous. So in this case, you need Axxana. Because if you had the black box from Axxana, and if the data would have been protected inside the black box, then even if you had number 1 line cut, number 2 disaster in your data center, that last mile of data, everything you accumulated would be still flowing into the black box. Now, the black box has enough in its belly, up to 1.6 terabytes of space, to keep all that extra lag between the data centers. So now the black box has everything, and as we talked about in previous videos, the black box would be able to transmit that data to the other side and get you again to 100% zero data loss recovery, even in this elusive and very dangerous rolling disaster scenario. Thank you.